A pistol taps your cheek like a knuckle. Not hard, just enough to tell you it's real. 30 minutes, the man says, voice flat, as if he's reading a parking receipt. You fly, or your mother stops answering her phone. You taste metal, gun oil. Your own breath trapped behind your teeth. On the table in front of you, your pilot license, your passport, and a phone playing a live video feed. Your mother sits in a kitchen you recognize, hands folded, eyes pointed down. A man stands behind her with a quiet smile. No calls, the man with the pistol says. No delays. No decisions. He nods once toward the door. Walk. Outside. The night air is cold and wet, and it smells like dirt that never dries. Gravel crunches under your shoes. A van idles with its headlights off. The engine hum sits in your ribs like a second heartbeat. Your wrists aren't tied. They don't need to be. Two men flank you, close enough that if you run, you'll collide with them before you take a full step. You're not in trouble, one of them says, tone gentle, almost bored. You're in use. The van door slides open. Warm air and stale cigarettes hit your face. Inside, another phone sits mounted on the seat back. Your mother again. Same angle. Same kitchen. The video doesn't buffer. That's the point. The airstrip is a dark smear in the distance, lit by a few sodium lights that make everything look diseased. The fence line is bent in places, patched with fresh wire that glints like teeth. The hangar door is half open. Inside, the plane waits under a tarp, quiet, expensive, and wrong in a place like this. The men don't rush you. They don't need speed. They have time. They have your family on a live feed. You know what to do, one says. You nod because you're breathing, and breathing is compliance. He hands you a headset. It's still warm from someone else's head. Inside the hangar, the smell changes. Fuel, rubber, old oil, sweat trapped in concrete. A faint chemical cleaner trying to pretend the other smells don't exist. A man steps out of the shadows with a clipboard and a pen. He looks like an accountant who took a wrong exit and never got back on the highway. He doesn't say hello. To passengers, he says, one case. He points at a black hard-shell case on a dolly. No markings. Too heavy for what it pretends to be. Don't open it, he adds, like he's telling you not to lick a battery. Your mouth is dry enough to crack. What if I refuse? You ask, because your brain is still trying to find a door. The accountant looks at you like you asked what color the sky is. He gestures at the phone. Your mother's hands twitch once on screen, almost imperceptible. Someone behind her adjusts his grip on her shoulder. Soft, familiar, possessive. You don't refuse. The accountant says, you continue. They walk you to the plane. The metal steps are cold through the soles of your shoes. The cabin smells like leather that's never known sunlight and a citrus wipe used too often. The seats are to clean for the place you're in. The two passengers arrive without hurry. One is thin and calm, wearing a jacket that costs more than your car used to. He carries himself like a man who has never had to look behind him. The other is younger, face bruised, wrists zip-tied, eyes red from crying that failed. The thin man sits, crosses his legs, checks his watch. The younger one is pushed into the seat opposite. He tries to speak and is cut off with a hand on his throat not crushing, just reminding him where air comes from. Your stomach tightens. You understand immediately, the second passenger isn't a passenger. He's leverage. The thin man looks at you through the gap in the seats. You take off on time, he says softly, or he doesn't land. He smiles as if it's a joke with a punchline only he can hear. The door seals with a heavy click. The sound is final. In the cockpit, the instruments glow a dull green, sterile and calm. The glass is cold. The yoke has a faint tacky feel, like someone wiped it with something that never fully dried. Your hands move because they have to. Your mouth says, ready, because silence is interpreted as resistance. Through your headset, a voice you don't recognize gives you a clearance you don't trust. A man behind you close enough you can smell his cologne over the fuel rests the muzzle of a handgun. Against the back of your seat. Not threateningly, practically, we stay smooth, he says. No surprises. You hear the younger passenger behind you breathe too fast. You imagine your mother's kitchen. You push forward. The wheels leave the ground. The first minutes are quiet enough to feel like a trap. The lights below shrink into a scattered necklace. The horizon is a black wall. The cabin behind you is silent except for a sniffle that keeps trying to become a sob and failing. The thin man speaks once. You're talented, he says, conversational. People like you ruin their own lives thinking skill is protection. You don't answer. Answering makes you real to him. Being real makes you disposable. A new message pops on the cockpit display from a phone wedged beside the gauges. A photo, fresh. Your mother's face, closer. Her eyes are wet now. Under it, one line of text. Don't try. The destination isn't a place you'd ever choose. A strip of land cut into scrub, lights that flicker like they're embarrassed to be on. To vehicles wait near the edge, engines running. Beams pointed down to avoid being seen from far away. As you descend, the air gets choppy. The plane shudders. Your teeth click once. Behind you, the younger passenger whispers, hoarse, please. It's not directed at you. It's directed at the universe, as if the universe still listens. Your throat tightens anyway. The thin man answers him without looking. Save your breath, you land. The wheels hit hard enough to sting your wrist through the controls. A door opens behind you. Cold air floods the cabin. Dust, exhaust, and the sour smell of sweat that's given up on hiding. You turn your head just enough to see without fully looking. The younger passenger is dragged to the door. He scrambles, feet catching on the carpet, hands useless behind his back. He looks at you wide-eyed, pleading, trying to make you a person who can help. The thin man leans close to the younger one's ear and says something you can't hear. Then he glances up at you. His eyes are calm. He nods once, like granting you permission to keep living. The younger passenger is pulled down the steps and into the darkness. A small sound follows, too sharp to be a shout, too broken to be a word. You don't move. You don't even blink. You keep your hands on the controls like they're glued there. This is where the moral line doesn't shatter. It thins, it stretches, and you step over it without feeling your foot hit anything. On the way back, the cabin is empty except for the thin man and the case. The accountant sits behind you now, scribbling notes that don't belong on paper. Good, he says at one point, as if you delivered groceries. Your fingers ache from holding the steady. A new video feed replaces your mother's kitchen. Your mother is still alive, but the camera angle is different now, lower, like someone set the phone down and walked away. Her breathing is audible. The accountant watches your eyes flick toward it. She's fine, he says. For now. He flips a page on his clipboard. You'll fly again. It isn't a threat. It's scheduling. By morning, your name is gone. Not legally. Not officially. Worse, operationally, your phone is replaced. Your wallet is returned with the cash removed. Your license is handed back with a new scuff mark across the photo. Like a finger rubbed it to hard. The men don't drive you home. They drive you to a different house with different locks and the same smell, bleach layered over fear. The room they put you in is too warm, air thick and recycled. The mattress is plastic under a thin sheet that sticks to your skin. A fan rattles in the corner like it's dying slowly. On the dresser, a toothbrush in a sealed wrapper, a bottle of water, and a phone bolted to the wood with a short cable. The phone rings once. Not a ring. A command. The accountant's voice comes through, calm as ever. Today you rest, he says. Tonight you work. You close your eyes. The fan rattles. Your stomach turns empty. The second job is bigger. You know it before anyone says it, because the preparation changes. More vehicles. More radios. More men with earpieces. A medic bag tossed into a trunk. A man in a suit arguing quietly with a man in boots. State involvement doesn't arrive with sirens. It arrives with paperwork, badges shown in shadows, and people who don't look nervous holding guns. At the hangar, the thin man isn't there. Instead, a new face, older, scar across one cheek. Eyes that never soften. He sits in the back and doesn't speak. The accountant leans into the cockpit. You're transporting an asset, he says, like it's a crate of tools. There is noise outside. You will ignore it. What noise, you ask? He doesn't answer. He just taps the phone screen. Your mother's feed. She's in a different room now. No kitchen. No familiar tiles. Concrete wall behind her. You hear another woman crying somewhere off camera. Your chest tightens. The accountant smiles slightly. Focus, he says. As you taxi, you hear it. Distant at first like thunder in the wrong season. Then closer. A low, rolling beat. Rotor blades. Your skin goes cold. The older man in the back finally speaks. They're early, he says. No panic, just data. The accountant's voice in your headset is still calm. Take off, he says. Now, the chaos spike doesn't announce itself. It erupts, a bright flash at the far end of the strip. A shockwave that you feel in your teeth. Dust jumps off the ground in a sheet. A vehicle's windshield spiderwebs in an instant. Men start moving fast without yelling, because yelling is for people who believe they can still control outcomes. Gunfire cracks somewhere to your left sharp, staccato, close enough to be personal. The older man in the back leans forward, voice steady. Up, he says. Your hands obey. The plane bumps over rough ground, faster than it should, and you taste bile. Another flash. The hangar lights cut out. For half a second everything is black except the instrument glow, and the strobing red of something burning. A man runs across the strip and falls like his legs were removed from him. He doesn't get back up. Your throat closes. You don't stop. Stopping is death. You pull up. The wheels leave the ground with a lurch. Below, the airstrip becomes a scattered scene of moving dots and sudden stillness. In your headset, the accountant breathes once audible, involuntary. Good, he says, like you did something impressive. You don't feel impressive. You feel owned. The older man behind you opens the case mid-flight. Not fully. Just enough for you to hear metal shift against foam. You don't look back. Looking back turns implication into knowledge. Knowledge turns you into evidence. Your phone lights up with a news alert you didn't ask for. Explosion reported near private airfield. Unconfirmed casualties below it. A blurry photo. Smoke. Lights. Chaos. Your stomach drops. The world is bigger now. It has headlines. When you land this time, it's not dirt. It's concrete, fenced, guard towers, cameras that don't blink. A place that looks official because it is. Men in uniforms meet you at the edge of the tarmac. No insignias you recognize. Faces that refuse to become memorable. The older man steps out and is greeted with a handshake that lasts along. You see it clearly. This isn't just criminals. It's infrastructure. A man approaches you with a tablet. He doesn't point a gun. He doesn't need to. Pilot, he says, reading your name without asking. You'll come with us. You stand because your legs still work. They lead you through a door marked authorized personnel only inside. The air is air-conditioned and smells like plastic and disinfectant. The floor is polished enough to reflect your shoes, which suddenly feel dirty. They take your phone. They take your license. They take your fingerprints. They take your face in bright light, multiple angles, like you're being cataloged. A man in a clean shirt speaks without looking up. You belong to a schedule now, he says. Your family belongs to your performance. You try to swallow. Your mouth is too dry to make the motion clean. That night, you attempt something small, because big attempts get you killed. In the bathroom, you find a ceiling vent with screws that look old. Your fingers test them, slow, careful, the way you would test a thin layer of ice. The first screw turns half a rotation. Your heart surges. Then the bathroom light flicks off. Not a power outage. A decision. A voice comes from the darkness through a speaker you never noticed. Don't. One word. No anger, just certainty. The light turns back on. On the sink, where there wasn't one before, sits the phone. Your mother's feed is live. Her face is closer than ever. She's been crying. Next to her, a hand enters frame holding a kitchen knife, not lifted, not waving, just resting it against the table like a paperweight. The voice returns, calm. You can try, it says. Or you can keep her breathing. Your fingers leave the screw. You step back. Your reflection in the mirror looks like someone else's. Weeks blur into a pattern of sealed doors, clipped voices, and flights that begin and end with your hands shaking only after you're alone. The planes change. The faces change. The demands stay the same. You stop asking where you're going. You stop caring who is in the back. Caring is a luxury. One night, you see someone new escorted into the same holding room you started in. You recognize the eyes first, wide, alert, still believing in choices. A young pilot. Clean uniform. Hands trembling. He looks at you like you might be help. You don't move toward him. You don't speak. Because you understand the rules now. Mercy is noticed. And what gets noticed gets removed. The accountant walks in behind the new pilot, clipboard in hand, pen ready. His voice is the same as it was the first night. 30 minutes, he says gently. You fly, or someone you love stops answering. The new pilot swallows hard. He nods. You sit back in your chair and listen to the fan rattle in the corner. You keep your face neutral. You keep breathing. You survive. And you hate how normal that becomes. The story is fiction. The system it mirrors isn't.